So to tell you about the chemistry department, the first thing we did is we had a meeting where we decided to look at the institution outcome and decide to build our chemistry department outcome. And we did it without using Taskstream. Well, what we did in our chemistry department is we just had a meeting. We decided to come up with chemistry outcome that would align to the institutional outcome. And then the next step that we did, and this would help maybe a lot of the courses, the next step is we decided to focus only on the labs first, before we even touched Taskstream. That's what's interesting, is we went kind of backward without even knowing that all of it is in Taskstream. So the next thing is we said, what do we want to do with all the labs? Because also we have that ChemTech program that we have, and the American Chemical Society, they want us to have some kind of uniformity in our department to have this ChemTech program. So then at that point we decided to have all the students have a notebook. And it started from there to look at the activities that students do in all the lab courses that are similar, and how do we want to assess them. So we came up with the rubric before we even used the Taskstream. So we had now a rubric that says for every student who takes lab in chemistry, they have to keep up a lab notebook that has these components. And each part of the rubric, we had points that we wanted to reach for every course level. So for example, Chem 152, they should be at level 3 in the rubric. Chem 200 should be at level 4. Chem 201 should be at level 5. So we already worked on the assessment and the mapping and everything all at once by just meeting together and coming up with this kind of rubric and deciding how does writing, let's say, a discussion relate to the chemistry department outcome, and how do chemistry department outcome relate to the institution outcome. And once we did that, then I came to Taskstream and I started to enter these things for the lab. So I'm going to show you two things that I did. One is how I mapped things for the lab sections. And since we're using the same rubric, I did it for all the lab sections because they all have the same activity. So my mapping was based on the activities because they're similar. But then for the lecture, since each one of us have different course outcome, I did the mapping differently. So I'm going to show you both ways. One is based on activities, and one is based on course outcomes. So of course, I just checked in there. And you see, for example, I have 152 lab. This is the course that I teach. And the mission statement, of course, that was decided in our chemistry department, and it was populated by Yvonne's office. So you don't have to touch all of this. The first and the second, pretty much they're there. The only thing you do is what I did also is, since we decided these outcomes in chemistry, all I had to do is just map these outcomes. So I did map them to the general education, and you can see here, which is interesting to pick up from what Joe said. For example, our communication does not map much to the science as much as it's to the language and rationality. So we kind of not only try to look at our students, how they know their science, but also how to communicate. So that was a good tool for us to see that we're doing we're not trying to just teach them science, but we also want to teach them how to communicate and analyze their writing. The critical thinking, the technology. So just like they said, I just go to map. And then what you do is you can go to create new mapping. Actually, did I check in? It was already checked in. Create new mapping. And here, there is this button that gives you choices. When you want to do mapping, it gives you choices. So for example, this one, I always pick this one because it says goal sets distributed to Chem 152 lab. So all the people teaching Chem 152 lab will have that same mapping. So if somebody does it for one course, it's there for all the other courses that are taught. So I just click on this one, and then you go continue. So I didn't select, actually. Please select the category. Actually, I thought I did. Yeah. And then you can go to general outcome or institution. These are there for everybody. You just have to click on any one of them. When I click there and you look, come on, I have to do continue. and it tells you all the choices, so you can select, you just click on them and you go continue, and it's done. So it's just very simple. But what's not simple is the previous work. If you have the work before, if you decide, okay, for these courses, what do we want to focus on? At least in our department, we decided either we focus on the activities or we focus on the course outcomes. So the activities, this is, by the way, this is some, sorry, these are all the chemistry department outcome, and we just mapped them. So we kept these for all the courses, by the way. If you do it with one course and you all agree, we kept these for all the courses taught in chemistry. So nobody needs to do this anymore. Once it's done once and we agree, maybe we can review it maybe a few years later, but not now. For now, we're good with this. Then I go to curriculum map, and this is where I have the course activities. And I told you for us, we know that the basic thing we're going to focus on is the lab notebook. So we divided 5 different activities, like the writing a purpose, theory, material, observation, etc. And we just kind of map them to the chemistry department outcome. So for example, for us, the organization is part of communication and personal responsibility, so I click on both. The purpose, when they write a purpose, it's part of communication, critical thinking, and personal responsibility. You know, you might say it's not necessarily personal responsibility, but if I don't want to put it there, I can change it and click on that. So any questions so far about this? So this is all for the lab courses. So all our lab courses will have the same mission statement, same student learned outcome, same curriculum map, because they all do the same activities. So this cuts our work in half, or more than half, because the majority of our courses are labs. Now let me go to the lecture that I teach. Oh, I didn't check it in. Okay. I don't want to do comment now. I'm just going to go, I'm sorry, I'm just going to go to my home and go to the lecture course. Here's the lecture course, Chem 152. The mission statement is still the chemistry department. The student learning outcome is still the chemistry department outcomes. And by the way, these are the ones that will appear on the curriculum map, the top of the curriculum map. So you see the top, communication, critical thinking. These are what you have here. All of these. So if you develop them in your department right here, they're written already, they will appear on the curriculum map on the top, right here. And since these have already been mapped, you're done, okay? Now here is the course, the lecture. As I told you, I focused not on the activity, but on the course outcome. So in our course, for example, this one, we have 15 chapters. So basically what I try to see is each chapter, what part of this outcome it covers. The reason I did it this way, and we discussed it, Rob and I, because you are the only ones who are a little bit ahead in this, is we left the activities in the assessment part. Since we only do tests and quizzes, it's not like in English where you have journals and portfolios and essays. You have different types of activities. Here, since we all just do tests and quizzes, we decided let's pick these course outcomes and put them here. And then in the assessment piece, we'll mention the activity. So the assessment piece is this part, okay? So here is what I put, for example, outcome 1. I didn't check it in, huh? I have to, oh, it's already checked in. Let me say edit map. And I want to show these to show you what we're talking about. So here, the scientific method should be able to diagram and explain scientific method, and we think it's part of the communication. Outcome 2 is part of this, and we went through all of them. Each course outcome we had a quick meeting, and we said, okay, let's link these course outcome to the department outcome. And then all I had to do here is just come and enter all these course outcome and click on each of the department outcome that corresponds to this course outcome. Okay, so save. I'm not going to touch anything. And just check in. That's it. Any questions? So you can, as I showed you here, you have two ways, either focus on the activities or the course outcome. The key thing is to have a little meeting where you can decide which one corresponds to what, and then somebody comes and sits. This takes 10 minutes. The meeting might take longer, but to put it on Taskstream is really very quick. All you have to do is just click there and edit. And as you edit, you just enter each outcome you want to focus on, and you just do the mapping.